Every second we are breathing is a blessing from Almighty. So everyone, let's utilize our day by gaining knowledge with IGP. Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. And thank you all for joining with us in this session. And please stay with us till the end. My dear lovely audience, once again, I'm your host for tonight. Myself, Nasreen, and I'm from Bangladesh. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. And it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professionals free webinar. So thank you again to all of you for joining us in this marvelous moment. And it's my pleasure and humble request to all of you, please stay with us till the end. And I'm sure you all will have many takeaways and payoffs from this webinar. Each time you can give a react and comment in our webinar. So don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comment box. So everyone, let's learn together and grow together because we believe that power is gained by sharing knowledge, not holding it. So once again, I'm Nasreen, member in IGP. Welcome you all in this session. Every day we have new participants from different places, different nations, different time zones who join in our life. So allow me to give a little concept about IGP. Institution of Global Professionals serves student and community resource, providing holistic social work and education for a profession generation. IGP also leading on online skill development skill with institute with thousands of learners worldwide. And we make it get it able to use for every knowledge seeker to originate personality, more ambitious, make confident to face any circumstance and develop their own skills. We are entrusted with international recognition. IGP is an educational institution provides social work. We believe that it's not effective to increase one's skills just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and consultations to generate proficient generation all over the world. We organized our webinar, training offline and online courses, etc. by best and trained speakers, coaches from all over the world to create a best learning platform for all of you. And our mission is empower people and enhance. And you have already know that we have successfully completed our 582 webinar. And today I'm going to present webinar number 583. The topic is Rethinking Teaching to Promote Deeper Learning. So everyone, let's start our program with IGP's mantra, that is feed your skills. Okay, so before inviting our honorable speaker, let's say our comment section that I always do. And I always love to read our participants' comment. Okay, right now we have Sir John Kinney joined with us. Great evening, sir. So we have Sir Joseph Nebulos Blesser, we have Sir Alex Javier Alvarez, we have Ma'am Hira Jami, Ma'am Jacqueline Bessa, and so many active participants right now commenting in our comment section. So thank you all for joining with us. And let me tell you once again, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comment box. And please give a thumbs up to our Facebook official page and subscribe our YouTube channel. You can also share this webinar in your timeline, Facebook groups, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So everyone, let's welcome our honorable speaker from Argentina, Ma'am Patricia Laura Arbona. Welcome, ma'am. Good evening. Ma'am, please unmute your microphone.
Well, good evening. I said good morning for me in Argentina. Well, it's a great pleasure for me to be here. And before starting, I would like to say a big thank you to Institute of Global Professionals for the invitation. Okay, shall I start? Okay, yes, it's my turn to speak. Well, the topic today is, let me share the screen before starting.
Okay, ma'am.
Sorry. I don't know what's happening. I can't find it. Sorry.
Ma'am, take your time.
Yeah. We checked it before, but I don't know why I can't find it now. I'm so sorry.
Can you see the PowerPoint slide?
Yes, I found it now.
Okay.
Sorry for my mistake. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's start. And once again, sorry for my mistake. Well, as I said before, the topic is rethinking teaching to promote deeper learning. Well, we all know that we are undergoing a process of transformation in education, which which started long before this pandemic crisis. The real truth is that we have been using the same traditional model of education for more than a century. Although there have been changes through time, the essential characteristics are still kept. So it's time for a change, isn't it? Okay, today we cannot accept any longer a model which does not recognize the skills that are required in 21st century education. The thing is that this new pedagogic renovation considers that we need to start transforming education. In fact, as I said before, we started this movement long before this pandemic crisis. But the idea is that this pedagogic renovation is unstoppable. And all educators and student teachers at college are agents of change. We teachers are the best qualified people to make any change in education because we know what happens in the classroom, and we also are able to recognize this type of the type of strategies that are necessary in the classroom to help students become effective learners. In the case of student teachers at college, they are also agents of change because they need to be prepared carefully because they will be responsible for implementing the new tendencies in education that are present today with their future students. Something very important to bear in mind is that the classroom is the place where this transformation is taking place. Now, there is no doubt that this transformation has been greatly accelerated by COVID-19 pandemic. Today, the effects can be seen everywhere. And let me mention four main consequences, because I think that all the other consequences are closely related to the ones I will mention now. Number one, this pandemic crisis has openly shown the deficiencies in education and a great increase in inequity. Number two, we are not the same type of teacher we used to be before lockdown. Number three, online classes will never ever replace in-person classroom learning. And number four, during this period, we have created bonds with educators around the world. We have shared our teaching practices and learned together. This has strengthened this education transformation. Now, this pedagogical innovation, renovation, calls for rethinking the purpose of teaching and enhancing the process of learning. It is our mission to ensure that every child around the world has access to quality education. We should provide them with the necessary tools and knowledge they need to become citizens of the world. We should bear in mind that at the moment, traditional and active learning procedures are occurring at the same time. So our main aim is to leave behind the traditional model, which is anachronic and is not working any longer, and generalize the implementation of these new methodologies. These new methodologies are active and they focus on learning by doing, and they give active participation to students in the process of learning. As architects of this transformation, we should encourage people responsible for education to step outside the comfort zone and take action with us. I think that the most significant advantage of this shift is that students become lifelong learners and they develop the necessary skills that they will be able to use to face the challenges of this ever-changing world. Now, it is interesting to make a comparison between teacher-centered and student-centered education to understand better why we need this type of renovation. First of all, in the traditional model, the teacher is the center of the class, and she's an instructor. So the students have a passive role because they remain seated at their desks listening to their teacher. Why? Because teacher talk is dominant in the classroom. The students do not have the opportunity to participate in every class because learning is individual. They cannot get together with their peers and discuss what they are learning or the way they can implement the new information they have been given. Of course, that classes are content driven. This means that content is much more important than the audience, that you say, than the students themselves. And this is a big mistake, and we are going to see the reason today. Well, answers are more important than questions. And we know that we do not learn by answering questions. We learn by asking questions. That's the way. But in this particular traditional model, answers are crucial. And as regards evaluation, what is important is the final result because it is summative. And marks or grades are just a sort of certificate that indicate that certain contents have been learned. As regards errors are punished. They are not accepted. They are not welcome. And here there is a big distinction between what is correct and what is incorrect. So what happens in this type of teacher-centered model? Bulimic learning takes place. This means that the teacher explains, the students study, and then they purge that information in a test. This means that the students um, do not study to learn. They study just to pass an examination. Why? Because they remember information by heart, and then that information is forgotten very quickly. Why? Because there is no signification. They do not know how this new information can be used in a real life situation, for example. When we move to um, uh, uh, an active methodology, which is student-centered, we realize that the teacher is no longer an instructor. He becomes a facilitator, a monitor, and the students have an active participation. Why? Because they become part of interactions where they discuss, they debate what they are learning. So they have the opportunity to share their strategies, their styles of learning, and in this way, students learn together. We should remember that learning is not an individual process, it is social. First, we need to be together with other people in order to be able to learn. Then we can gain more confidence and start learning by ourselves. But first, we need others. In this new model, the learning process is important. Teachers pay attention to how students make progress when they are learning. And of course, questions are used. Why? Because when students are asking questions, this means that they are curious. And when they are curious, they want to go beyond what they are learning and get more information. As regards evaluation, the focus is on process. It is formative, not summative as in the traditional model. This means that the process, let's say the way the students learn, is much more important than the result. In this case, feedback is very important. In the other model, in the traditional model, feedback is not present. So the students do not really know if they are progressing or not. And in the case of errors are welcome because students know that they are part of the process. It is okay to commit mistakes. In this way, students get meaningful learning. Why? Because first of all, they are highly involved in the process. They are part of the process. They are having experiential learning. That's why learning becomes meaningful. And when it is meaningful, it is memorable. Now, there is a Chinese proverb that says, I see and I forget. I hear and I remember. I do and I understand. And this proverb is closely connected with these active methodologies which promote learning by doing. This cone of learning was created by Edgar Dale, and he shows when learning takes place more effectively. If we look at the base of the cone, we will find that there active learning takes place. And the reason is simple. The students learn more comfortably and more easily because they are involved. They directly participate in the process of learning. How? For example, giving a talk, being part of the discussion, in a drama activity, playing, or doing an activity in a real life situation. For example, they have learned, students have learned um, um, how to measure, um, solids, for example, so they may decide to make a cake. They can turn the classroom into a kitchen and make a cake in the classroom, or they at home, with the help of their parents, they can start measuring the ingredients that are necessary to make a cake. So in this case, the weight measures are being used in a real life situation. It's not something that is theoretical that may appear in a written explanation. They are really having experiential learning. Well, what are the principles of an active learning environment? Well, the learning process is personalized. This means that the focus is on the student, and it is important to take into consideration what he brings to class, his potential. This learning is also holistic because it considers the person as a whole with his mind, body, and emotions. And we should remember that a learning is not just an intellectual process, it is also emotional and physical. Students in this new model of education learn with all their senses, with their bodies, not just using their brains. It goes beyond that. And it is interesting to highlight the fact that cognition and emotion form a binomial. They are inseparable. That's why emotions are always present in the classroom. This type of learning is also multisensory. This means that all the senses are alert. The students have the opportunity to choose those senses that are more dominant. So they feel more confident because they have the opportunity to choose which are the best for them to use. This multisensory learning is particularly useful for students who may have problems with attention or with learning, and also it's useful for students with special needs. Well, neuroscience today is part of our teaching and learning. Why? Because it has provided us with very important information that we are using in our classrooms very successfully. I can mention three main contributions. First of all, according to scientific investigations, curiosity and emotions are always present in the process of learning. If curiosity and emotions are not present, well, learning cannot take place. Then another contribution is that it has been scientifically shown that students do not learn by repeating something mechanically. They learn by doing, when they get involved, when they are part of the process of learning. And the third contribution is that now we know that the brain is a plastic organ. When we speak about the flexibility of the brain, we can optimize the process of learning because we take into consideration its potential. The brain is flexible because it can modify with new learning. And this flexibility helps us to improve our cognitive strategies. Multiple intelligences are also present in this new type of methodology. Why? Well, getting a high mark in an examination does not mean that we are intelligent. It goes beyond academic performance. Howard Gardner has redefined the concept of intelligence, and he says that intelligence is a set of abilities and skills that can be developed. He has distinguished 8, and these 8 intelligences are present in every human being. What is different is the way they are combined. The way they are combined is unique. So what is our mission? It is to discover what type of intelligences the students bring to class and help them use these skills and abilities in their own process of learning. Well, another component of this type of learning is the arts. The arts cannot be absent because today we know that numbers and letters are not the limits of knowledge. The students can express new knowledge through the arts. How? Well, through drama, painting, dancing, music. And when we speak about the arts, the first ideas that come to our minds are creativity, inspiration, perception, innovation. So when students use the art, they can show what they have learned in different ways. Normally, the arts can be used for consolidation so that the students know how to use the particular content that they have learned in a painting. Okay, we have explained something, or the students have learned a new content. In what way can they express their understanding? It may be through a painting, through a drawing, through a dramatic performance. There are different varieties of ways in which the arts can be used. And of course, they should be present in every subject. It's not a question of restricting the arts to a specific area in the curriculum. Well, also values are part, of course, of this new type of learning. Values are learned at home, but they are reinforced at school. The idea is, and I always say this, that values should not be taught. I think that the students should live them, should become directly involved with this learning of values. How? For example, instead of giving students a list of values and then we talk about them, what we can do is to prepare a short scene in which the students are different values, and then they have a discussion together, but each of them represents a particular value, and they talk about themselves. So they are no longer John or Mary or Karen. And they are taking the part of a value. And this is very enriching because they learn better when they are in this type of situations. It is a simulation, but they are really learning because they are inside the value they are representing. Isn't it great? Well, let's talk about the model that we are having with this type of learning. First of all, it is dynamic. Why? Because now the students become part of the process of learning and they use their own potential. It is constructive because students build up their own process of learning. They are designers of their own learning. Of course, the teacher is always a facilitator. The teacher is always beside them in order to help them build up this knowledge. This learning is also contextualized because it deals with concrete experiences. This means that the students are able to connect what they learned with what they live. This is very important. This means that this type of learning does not rely only on theoretical information. Of course, that when teachers start explaining, some theory must be present, but it is greatly reduced because what is important is to apply that information in a real life situation. Well, this learning is also cooperative. Cooperative learning is very important and it is not as frequent as it should be. We have said that learning is a social process. So students learn together when they are able to work in teams. According to psychological studies, there are two stages in cooperative work. The first stage is interpersonal, when the students get together and they share strategies, they share the information, they discuss the information they are working with, and they gradually construct a framework in which they support one another. After a time, they become more confident. They no longer need this sort of framework. They create it to support one another, and they are able to become independent. So they reach the second stage, that is intrapersonal, when they become autonomous and they are able to solve different types of problems, for example. Well, what are the essential skills and qualities? Well, there is a complete change here because remember that emotions are present. In the traditional model, emotions are not important because the focus is on content. Remember, little or no attention is paid to the student or to the person that is part of the classroom. Well, in this case, there is a big change because now first we need to concentrate on the type of students we are having. So they need to develop social emotional skills. And this is very important because we are emotional creatures. First, we feel and then we reason. Here, what is important is that I need to discover the person inside the student. For this reason, I need to get to know my students from the very beginning. What I mean is this. When we start having a new group of students at the beginning of the year, my first mission is not to give them a list of obligations and rights. This comes later. First of all, I need to get to know them. The type of students they are, the type of person they are. That is to say, the information I need is their personal qualities, the potential they bring to class, their needs, and their interests. So in this way, I will know the type of students I'm having and the type of teaching I will be using with them. Remember, if we are having two groups of students that belong to the same level, for example, first year A and first year B, I cannot teach in the same way. When I know my students and I really recognize their abilities and what they really need, well, I have to work according to that. When I prepare an activity in the traditional model, normally the same activity is given to first year A and first year B. And normally we say, well, the students in first year A work very well. But I noticed that in first year B, many of them failed. I don't know. I think that they are not studying properly. And when I start reflecting on this, the question is it their fault or is it mine? Well, it's mine because I'm not considering the type of students I'm having in my class. So we have to think about this very carefully. This is one of the very first steps that should be taken when we start working with this new methodology. Start thinking about the type of people you are having in your classroom before thinking about the content. Well, passion, enthusiasm, and stamina. Well, remember, we have said that emotions are always present in our daily lives. And of course, they are present in the classroom. For this reason, we need to create a pleasant atmosphere. Why? Because we are activated and we are motivated by emotions. So students won't start the process of learning if they are not prepared for that. And that's my responsibility as a teacher. I need to create a pleasant atmosphere which is safe, warm, welcome, which invites the students to learn. I can even start with some warm-ups before starting the process. This may last for 5-8 minutes, no more than that, in which I create a balance between thinking and doing. I start connecting the brain and the body. Remember that we have said that this type of learning is holistic. For example, in this warm-up session, you can use some breathing exercises or some stretching or brain gym, and they really work because the students feel better and they are ready for the process of learning. Well, something else that I should build is rapport. Rapport is this sort of uh, emotional understanding between teacher and students. The relationship between teacher and students is very important. Remember that students do not start learning when we want to teach them. No, they start learning when they are emotionally prepared. For this reason, I need to create this special atmosphere. The students should feel comfortable. The students should need that we are considering all the possibilities to give them the space they need to be ready for the process of learning. I always say that learning is a supreme act. The students come to class to learn. This is their most important mission. And something very important is that the classroom should be considered a place in which we are meeting. It is a sort of meeting between the teacher and the students. It's not a place where I go to teach and the students come to learn. No, it is a place where we learn together. When we understand that this is the situation that should be created in the classroom, students are better prepared. And we are also better prepared for the process of teaching. This special climate that I create is beneficial for both the process of teaching and the process of learning. Piaget once said, it is important to teach students to love what they learn. Aristotle once said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So you see how important emotions are in the classroom. And of course, you need to show your passion for teaching. And when you show your passion, you are enthusiastic. And this is contagious. When students have a teacher who is very energetic and is enthusiastic and passionate, well, they feel much better prepared for the process of learning, and they want to become part of this pleasant atmosphere and start the process of learning. And of course, we should boost our stamina. Stamina is the physical, emotional, and mental strength that we need for teaching and learning. Well, the development of a growth mindset is very important in this type of learning. Why? Because normally when we have a group of students, some of them may have a fixed mindset. So they think that they are not smart enough, they do not like failure, and they do not believe in themselves. So they feel disappointed and they may quit. So one of our responsibility is to help them build a growth mindset. When they build this type of mindset, they believe in themselves and they know that they are supported by the teacher. They know that through effort, they can be successful, and they consider mistakes as part of the process. They are welcome because the classroom becomes a laboratory while students experiment with contents. There is a lot of trial and error. Some mistakes are expected. So they are not seen as a punishment. On the contrary, they are good pieces of information that help them improve their learning. Why? Mistakes. They discover that mistakes are deductive because they teach them. They are constructive because they help them improve their learning. And they are creative because when they are fixing their mistakes, they can find creative ways. Why? Because they have just started using their lateral thinking. Isn't it great? Okay, then creativity is one of the elements that is present in this type of learning. Remember that creativity is one of the 5 basic capacities that students need to develop in 21st century education. The other are critical thinking, cooperation, communication, and control of emotions. That is to say, they need to develop emotional intelligence. Well, creativity is an innate aptitude. It is present in every human being. The thing is that all children are creative, but when they start school, normally if they have studied a traditional school, creativity vanishes. Why? Because content becomes more important. Remember that today we are in a period of transition, so students have teachers who are already innovating and teachers who are still following this model. Well, in the traditional model, predictability is present. All classes are predictable so that the students know what will happen in their classrooms, because these type of classes are repetitive, structured, rigid. In a word, they are boring. And why do they feel they are boring? Because they do not have the opportunity to participate. They remain seated listening to the teacher, and they have little or no opportunities to become active members. Well, so when creativity is present, the students are active participants. Kent Robinson once said that creativity is as important as literacy, and it should be treated with the same status. The thing is that one of our responsibilities today is to nurture creativity in the classroom. Well, another important aspect is teamwork. We have said that cooperative learning is very important, and students enjoy working together. Why they enjoy it? Because they know that learning together is beneficial for them. Well, the thing is that, as I said before, cooperative work is not as common as it should be. And sometimes when they work cooperatively, they don't know what to do because they are not given the right strategies. Well, with these new methodologies, the students are given the different steps that should be followed in order to work successfully with their peers. Normally, they confuse cooperative work with other activities which occur in groups but do not follow the necessary steps to be effective. Well, I always say that silence is not healthy in the classroom. When a class is silent, this means that students are listening to the teacher quietly and they are not participating. Well, this belongs to the past. We cannot accept a classroom in which most of the time the students remain silent. That's why I always mention two different types of noises. One type of noise is bad, and it occurs when students misbehave because they are not interested in what the teacher is saying. They do not like how they are learning. So there is disruption. And there is another type of noise that is productive. And it is productive when the students are working in teams in an activity the teacher has assigned them. So they are busy discussing and trying to solve the problem they have been given. Well, this time of noise is productive. And when we work in teams, it is important to consider seating arrangement. Remember that orderly rows are not productive. Students do not have the opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation because they are seated in these rows. So what is advised is to change the arrangement. The students may be seated in a horseshoe, in a circle, or in groups. That's much more productive. Well, metacognitive awareness and feedback, both of them are crucial. Metacognition is a crucial component in the classroom, but it's not as common as it should be. When students use metacognition, they learn how to learn. This means that they become critical observers of their own process of learning. They are able to distinguish their weaknesses and their strengths, and in this way, they improve their process of learning. So when they reflect on their own process of learning, they can go on improving. That's why these metacognitive strategies are so important. Metacognition means thinking about thinking, and metacognition is present in our daily lives. So why not in the classroom? In the classroom is a very significant component. When students reflect on their learning, they do it together with their peers. So again, they learn together. This shows that learning is an individual process. We need to emphasize this situation. Why? Because we have not thought of this before. In the traditional model, this is not taken into account. Well, and this metacognition should also be present among teachers. Normally, we reflect on our own teaching. And when a class is finished, we tend to say, well, this class was good because all my lesson plan was successful because all the activities and strategies I selected worked very well. Or on the contrary, you may think that your class was not what you had planned. The idea is that this type of reflection should not be individual. I need to meet my colleagues and reflect on our own practices. And this is very important because when we reflect on our own practices, we learn together and we improve our teaching, sharing our own experiences. Well, another important component is feedback. Students need feedback, and sometimes it is not present every single class. And I'm going to give you an example. When students are not given feedback, and of course they do need it, a child may come to his teacher and say, Miss, am I a good student? Am I learning well? Uh, he's very shy because he's afraid of the answer. And besides, he's not very comfortable because he's expecting the teacher to give him what he really needs. So the teacher immediately reacts and says, oh, my darling, yes, you are doing very well. You are so dedicated. Yes, okay, you are great. Go on like this. And then the child goes back to his seat and he feels more confident. An adolescent or an university student won't do something like this, but something similar. So he may say, sorry, miss, do you think that I'm prepared to sit for the examination at the end of the month? So if he's asking because it is because he needs the teacher's opinion. And of course, this feedback will guide him. It is important to give feedback to students. Why? Because first of all, they feel more confident. And besides, they need that it is user friendly because it is personalized and it is timely because it is given at the right time. And this is what the students need. So when they are given feedback, they are able to go on learning comfortably. They are able to go on using their metacognitive strategies. And in this way, they are able to improve their process of learning successfully. So metacognition and feedback also form a binomial and they are inseparable. Well, approachableness and support are related to the teacher. Teachers should be approachable, supportive, and when students recognize their teachers are like that, they feel more confident. They are able to participate more easily. Sometimes they do not want to participate because there is not a good relationship. This rapport I mentioned before between teacher and students. So they prefer to remain silent and avoid participation. But when students discover that the teacher supports them and she's approachable, well, they are ready to become part of the class and make their own contributions. Well, flexibility and adaptability corresponds to also to the teacher. Why? The teacher should be flexible. This means that she is always ready to change, especially today that we are in a period of transformation. And she should be adaptable. Why? Because remember that today we have diversity in the classroom. And it is essential for her to know her students and the person inside each student in order to plan her lessons, taking into consideration this information. Well, normally in the traditional model, evaluation is something that belongs to the teacher. She is the one that evaluates students. End of story. But with this new type of methodologies, there is also self-evaluation and co-evaluation. Students using metacognition, they are able to self-evaluate. They are able to discover, as I said before, if they are progressing in their own learning, and in this way make the necessary adjustments. This means that through metacognitive strategies and self-evaluation, they gain autonomy. And remember that one of our ultimate aims is to help our learners become autonomous, independent learners. Co-evaluation is also important. As students are more familiar with cooperative work, they can co-evaluate, so they can assess their peers. And remember that the best way of learning is when students can teach their peers. Well, and there are three skills that cannot be absent in this new type of classes: communication, leadership, and organization. Communication skills are crucial, and they should be taught because we need to have in the classroom effective communicators. There are four main components of communications, first of all. The first one is linguistic, that is to say, how the students use the language. The second is paralinguistic, how students use the information that is not present in the ones themselves, but this information accompanies the core meaning of words. I'm talking about body language, which is very, very powerful, and tone of voice and prosody. Then another component is cognitive, how students organize their ideas and thoughts. And finally, emotions, how students use their emotions when they are having a conversation. Besides these four components in communication, the students should also develop communicative competence and interactional competence. Communicative competence has to do with the ability to use the language effectively and the type of strategies that are necessary in order to be a successful user of the language. And interactional competence refers to the conversation devices that we use in a conversation. Remember that in a conversation, there is a constant negotiation to keep the conversation going. For example, in a conversation, there are pauses, silences. We may ask for repetition, further explanation, confirmation, reformulation. So all these strategies are crucial, and students need to know them in order to become effective communicators. Well, leadership skills help students lead effectively. A good leader needs strategic thinking, people management, decision making, problem solving, etc. So all these types of skills are developed in the classroom, and they are used in different activities in which they are directly involved, and then they will be useful in their future. And they also need organization skills. These skills help students organize their own resources. For example, when they are organized, they are able to use their time, energy, work more effectively. So when students are able to use these skills in the classroom, of course, they become more confident and they will use them now and in the future. And of course, when they become grown-ups, they will be able to go on developing them. Well, in this model, we take into consideration that Maslow hierarchy of needs come before Bloom's taxonomy. Remember that emotions are crucial. The person inside the student is also very important. That's why Maslow pyramid of needs comes first. Well, what is this hierarchy? It describes human motivation, and it states 5 stages which determine an individual's behavior. In the case of Bloom's taxonomy, let's describe it very simply, and I can say that among the countless uses it has, I can say that it teaches students to learn and teachers to teach. As simple as that. This taxonomy was created by Benjamin Bloom in 1956, and then it was revised in 1994 by a group of psychologists in order to make it significant to 21st century education. If we pay attention to the level to the base of the pyramid, we have remembering. The students, first of all, need to remember concepts and facts. Then the next level is understanding. This means that they understand what they are learning. Once they understand what they are learning, they are able to apply it in a real life situation. After that, they analyze it. That is to say, they make connections among different situations. Then they evaluate what they have applied. And finally, when they reach this stage, they are able to create a new or an original idea. What is important about this is that Maslow is before Bloom. This means that the basic needs should be addressed before any learning occurs. In other words, if my students aren't well fed, don't feel safe, and are badly in need of hugs, they don't care where my questions land and blooms. We must meet their basic needs first. So we should bear in mind this in our classes. Well, this is the end of my presentation. So now I think that it is a quiz session. Am I right? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable presentation with our participants. Okay, ma'am, we will come back with you in our Q session after this quiz session. So please stay with us.
I will, well, stop sharing.
Okay. Please stay with us, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, my dear lovely participants, so get ready for our next session, that is quiz competition. And please don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in our comment box. So let's get ready for our quiz session. Okay, welcome to our quiz competition session. So, my dear lovely participants, you can see the joining link in our comment box, and also you can directly go to www.slido.com, and the code is IGP quiz. And today, top 10 winners get certificate. So please join in our session, this session, and give your full name cards. It will be printed in certificates. Okay, right now we have 25 participants who already joined in this session. Thank you all for joining, and please share this program in your timeline and mention your friends, family members, colleagues, and your lovable ones in our comment section. And please remember, there is no relation between quiz completion certificates and international webinar certificates. And also, get ready with your question for our next session in Q&A. So right now we have 30 are waiting for new participants. Participants. Okay, we will start our program within a few minutes. So everyone, please hurry up, join in this session. Okay, let's start it. So our first question, teaching for understanding calls teachers to uncover the content or reveal the content. So the time is up. Let's see the right answer. So the right answer is option number one, and uncover the content. And 55% of our participants answered correctly. Let's see our leaderboard. Okay, in our leaderboard in this round, we have Ma'am Geraldine Kalozamaguchi placed first position, following Ma'am Tama Benenlada, following Sir Joseph and Placer, following Ma'am Evelyn Perry, and Ma'am Kiefer Rivera. So, congratulations to our winners. We are moving to our next question. Choose only one type of language teaching media: brainstorming or overhead transparency and LCD projector. right answer is option number two. And 64% of our participants answered correctly. In this round, we have Sir John Kenneth C. Goya plays first position, following Ma'am Gemma Benalada, following Ma'am King Kate Villanova, following Ma'am Evelyn P. Weberi, and Sir Joel Abernathy. Okay, let's see the next question. Rethinking a student involves reflection on how blank a student. So you have to fill the right option in the blank. So option number one, taste, or option number two, see, trade, educate, support. Okay, the correct answer is option number two. So 85% of our participants choose the right answer. Okay, again we have Sir John Kenneth Seagull plays first position in this round, and following Sir Napoleon Peter, following Sir Joel Abernathy, following Ma'am Mean Kate Villanova, and Ma'am Emily and Review. Okay, congratulations to our winners. We are moving to next question. Teaching for understanding demands roles for who? Teachers and students, or students and parents? Right answer is option number one, teachers and students. And 90% of majority of the participants answered correctly. Again, we have Sir John Kenneth Seagull placed on first position in this round, following Sir Napoleon Peter, following Ma'am Emily and PU, following Ma'am Mean Kate Villanova, and Sir Jill Abernathy. Let's see the next question. It's on true false. Okay, DI is mostly about the decisions a teacher makes while teaching a class. So is this true or false? Oh, so the right answer is option number two, that is false. And only 22% of our participants answered correct. Okay, in this round, we have Ma'am Janeline as Dela Cruz plays first position in our leaderboard, following Sir Joel Abernathy, following Sir Joseph Ann Placer, following Sir John Kenneth C. Coelho, and Sir Napoleon Peter. So congratulations to our winners. Next question. What does Thurmond call the challenge for teaching and learning? Paradigm shift or cultural? Right answer is option number one, and 81% in our leaderboard in this Celine as Dela Cruz, following Ma'am Jorian Nesoko Goel, following Ma'am Emily and Review, and Ma'am Hazel. Okay, so we are moving to next question. Okay, choose two barriers to the. So option number one, the lack of adequate skills and familiarity, are option number 2, develop desired behavior. Right answer is option number 1. And 88% of our participants get the right answer. We have Ma'am Janeline as Dela Cruz, his first position in our leaderboard, following Sir John Kenneth Seagull, following Ma'am Evelyn M. Refuge, following Ma'am Hazel, and following we have Ma'am Sona Miyanchi. Okay, congratulations to our winners. Let's see the next question. Question number 8. Which one of the following answer is not included in Rethinking Classroom Talk? Help learners to read the passage, or the second option, range of further reading for encouraging dialogic teaching. So the time is up. Right answer is option number 1. And 62% of our participants answered correctly. Congratulations to answer in right. Okay. Okay. In this round, we have again and Janeline as Dela Cruz based on first position. So congratulations to all of you. Let's see the next question. When teachers divide the class evenly in half teaching the same content, this is called what? Alternative teaching or parallel teaching. So you have to put one option in the blank. The right answer is option number 2, parallel teaching, and 76% of our participants get the right answer. Again, we have Ma'am Janeline as Dela Cruz plays first position in our leaderboard in this round. Okay, let's see the last question. Why was Catholic social teaching created? To address pressing issues that needed attention or to lead people's lives? Okay, the right answer is option number 1. And 71% of our participants answered correctly. So let's see our winner's name. Okay, congratulations, Sir John Kenneth Sequel placed first position in this competition. Okay, we have Ma'am Hazel Singalivo placed second position, Sir Jella Bernasor placed third position, Ma'am Min Kate Villanova placed fourth position, Ma'am Janeline as Dela Cruz placed fifth position. Okay. Okay, let's see the others winners. We have Ma'am Caramilla B. Jane placed sixth position. Ma'am Emily M. Refiu placed seventh position. Ma'am Jameline V. Rivera placed eighth position. Okay, we have Ma'am Jorian Nakua placed ninth position, and Sir Napoleon Peter Solino placed 10. Okay, congratulations to our top 10 winners. So give a virtual clap for our winners. So my dear lovely participants, you'll get your certificates, quiz certificates from our Facebook official page after the program. So don't miss it. Please collect it and celebrate with IGP. Okay, so we are moving to our next session, that is QA. And after this short video, we will come back with our honorable speaker. So please get ready with your question. welcome, ma'am, to our QA session.
Okay.
So, my my dear lovely audience, please put your question in our comment box. Okay, we are still waiting for your question. One of us that these models are perfect for my exam tomorrow. Haha. So definitely yes.
Can we see the audience so as to have a more direct conversation, Nashrin?
We are still waiting for your questions.
Have you heard what I said?
Please, dear knowledge seeker.
Nashrin, have you listened to me? Can we have a look at the audience so that we can have a direct conversation?
Because of slow connection, network problem, I cannot hear you.
Ah,
Can you repeat again,
yes. No,
please?
I was asking if is it possible to see the audience so as to have a more direct conversation, because I can ask them questions too. So it is important to see how they have reflected on what I have said. So I can ask them questions to start the conversation. Probably this is what they need.
We just only connect with them in the comment section.
We cannot see them.
You can see them in comment section when they comment us.
But you what I mean is that we cannot see their faces like in any other normal webinar. All the people present on the
Yes, ma'am.
screen, we
No,
can't. Oh, what a pity! Because that's important. When we are having a conversation, it is important to have talking about communication skills is to have a face-to-face conversation, because in this way it's more direct.
it can possible through other media apps like Zoom, then WhatsApp,
Ah, but not,
Messenger.
uh, but not in this platform. This is not possible. Okay. Well, so can I ask them a question? So probably they may type it.
Now, we already have a question from our
Okay.
participants. This is from Mamihara Jamie. What do you think that is the effective strategies can depend a child's understanding?
Well, very good question. Children learn by doing, definitely. Because remember that before starting school, what do they do at home? They discover the world they are in, and they do it through play and asking questions. For example, they are very creative because they can use just a box and they can turn it into a ship, into a car, into a kitchen, into a house. So this indicates how creative they can be. So the idea is that when children start school, that creativity and that learning by doing gradually disappears, because now they should remain seated and pay attention to the teacher. With these new methodologies, everything changes. The students are encouraged to participate actively. For children, the best way is keep using playing. Students need to learn by playing, especially at the initial levels, because in this way we will go on following the way they learned before starting school. So play is the natural way of learning. And I always advise to use play at all levels, even at teacher training college, for example. Teachers need to get involved in the world of play so that they will be able to use it when they have their own group of students. So for children, definitely play is the most important resource. And another important is drama. Drama is important because the students at an early age, they can develop communication skills because most of the activities are connected with verbal and non-verbal language. So through time, they become effective communicators because they are active participants and they are using the language permanently.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
One of our participants said that the presentation is clear and concise. So I have no question.
No questions. Okay. So what they need to do is to reflect on everything I have said, because remember that both methodologies coexist at the moment. So that's why we are in a period of transformation in education. The idea is to generalize these active methodologies and help the students learn in a different way. Remember that they have been complaining for ages. This complaint started at secondary level. Students at secondary level start complaining. We don't like the way we are learning. We feel obliged. There is a lot of pressure. But then children at primary school started complaining. And this is very serious because when a child complains about learning at school, this means that it is not their fault, it is the teachers or the methodology that they are using. So that's why we need to change. When children at primary school are complaining, we need to pay attention. It is important to listen to them because we are not teaching correctly. If they are against the way they are learning, it is because they are missing the one they used before starting school. That's why it's so serious. And now, higher students at higher levels are also complaining. So there is an urgent need for a change.
Comments from Ma'am Isaya Kiangi, very informative, comprehensive.
I haven't heard. Your voice was interrupted. Could you repeat, please?
Okay, we have next question from Sir
A ver.
John Kenneth. How important characteristics of his or her learner? First question. The second question is, what can you advise to every educator to teach us online and not able to monitor the school and not?
All right. Good questions, too. All right. Okay. Well, the first question, how important for an educator to know the characteristic of his or her learner? Well, this is crucial. This is crucial because we have been teaching for ages without considering the human being that we are having in our classes. So everything is different now because, as I said before, emotions are important. We are emotional creatures, and first we feel and then we reason. That's why students need this special atmosphere. Remember that when we were young, how did a class used to be started? Good morning, sit down, open your books. How awful. Today I cannot accept this type of beginning in a class. It's not. Good morning, sit down, open your book, or pay attention to me. The idea is to know the type of students we are having, because in this way I will be able to plan my lessons better. Another big mistake we are still committing is that we plan our lessons taking into consideration the content. And it is not the content what is important. I need to think of the content, taking into consideration the type of students I have in my class, what type of potentials are present, what are their needs. Remember that today we have diversity. And so it is completely different to the type of class that is present in a traditional model. That's why the characteristics of learners is crucial today. So we should stop organizing or planning a lesson taking into consideration content. First, I need to know the type of students I'm having in my class. After that, I will be able to select uh, how I'm going to teach, the type of resources I will select, and the activities the students will be able to do. But they will be able to do these activities according to the type of students they are. Otherwise, it is impossible. That's why sometimes we say, oh, this activity was not good. I thought it was excellent for this group. Well, because it was thought for the content, not for the type of students. Because you know that some students are more visual, more kinesthetic. Um, so the activities should be organized according to this information. And the second, how can you advise? Well, teaching online. Well, one of the consequences of this COVID-19 pandemic is that online, I said this at the beginning of my presentation, that online classes will never ever um, replace uh, in-person classroom learning. Teachers are needed. We need a contact with our students. What we did during lockdown was to keep education going, but you know that there were lots of restrictions. The number of periods were reduced, the contents were also reduced. So in a way, I think that we tried to teach because we worked really very hard to keep education going, and the students tried to learn. But remember that being separated by a screen is quite difficult to create rapport. This is something I mentioned before. How can I establish an emotional bond when we are separated? And remember that emotions are crucial. How do I know that the students are intrinsically motivated? Sometimes they prefer to um, have their cameras off. They do not want to be really present. Are they there? Are they listening to us? This is especially done by adolescents. Are they really present? Are they paying attention to what are we saying? We cannot even check if they are really learning. So it was a very difficult situation, and everything was done taking into consideration the difficulties we were having at the moment. Today, we are back and we already know all the deficiencies that took place during these periods, and we should take into consideration that the ones that were present before the pandemic. But anyway, I think that we need to work hard now to give to recover this situation and to help students learn better, because when they finish school, they will go on studying at a higher level. And if they are not being prepared properly now, they won't be able to be successful professionals. Now they have a label. They are the students that belong to the pandemic. That's why we need to work very hard to help them learn properly and get the information and the strategies they need to become effective learners. The pandemic, as I said before, left profound effects that can be seen everywhere, and it is our responsibility to try uh, to to help as much as we can. Well,
So
and then here he's talking about parents. The case of parents, the parents were given the responsibility of following their children's process of learning, imagine. And there were two important cases in all the families. Parents who did not have any instructions, so they didn't know how to help their students. And there were families in which parents were professionals, but they were doctors, engineers, they were not teachers, and they could not help their students either. So the problem was very important because in many cases, emotional problems occur in the different families because there was a problem of relationship between children and their parents. They couldn't understand each other. Imagine, it was impossible, really. Parents try hard, but in some cases it was impossible. And we need to accept this situation too in order to help them today and give the tools they need.
Thank you so much coming in IGP's platform and share your knowledge with our participants. It was really insightful. And thank you once again, ma'am. So please say lots to our participants.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. It has been a pleasure for me to be with you all. Well, now I expect that the audience will reflect on this. Of course, any questions you may have, you can contact me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
My dear lovely participants, our today's certification process. So the teaching to promote deeper learning IGP 402. And the code is IGP 402, and no one is eligible for certification without this code. And with so you can also visit our website. Our website address is www. Get your certificates and don't forget to celebrate with IGP. So, my dear lovely audience, thank you again to all of you for still now staying with us in this session. And thank you for your participation and your cooperations. And we expect that you will get benefited from this webinar in your personal and professional lives. And we want everyone with us in our long journey. So, thanks again to all of you, and please stay safe and stay healthy. Take care of yourself, and don't miss our next session tomorrow morning. And till then, stay happy and stay healthy. So, once again, I'm Nasrin from Bangladesh signing off right now. Have a good day and good night.